Have you ever loved someone so deeply that the thought of losing them feels like losing a part of your soul? There are moments in life when love stops being just a word and becomes a promise, a quiet promise you make in your heart, not because you want to control someone, but because the connection you feel with them is something rare, something sacred, something you know you will never find again. Tonight, I want to talk about that kind of love, the kind of love that doesn't come from possession, but from devotion, the kind of love that looks into someone's eyes and silently says, I choose you, not for a moment, not for a season, but for a lifetime. Because when love is real, when it reaches the deepest part of who you are, you stop searching, you stop doubting, and you stop imagining a life with anyone else. You simply look at the person standing in front of you, the one who understands your silence, the one who stayed when life was hard, the one whose presence feels like home, and your heart whispers something powerful. It whispers, I'm not sharing you with anyone, my love, you're mine forever. Not out of jealousy, not out of fear, but out of a love so pure that your soul has already chosen them long before your words ever could. And today, I want to share with you what it truly means to love someone like that. A love that is loyal, a love that is patient, a love that stands strong even when the world tries to pull two hearts apart, because real love, the kind that lasts forever, is not about finding the perfect person. It's about finding the one soul you never want to live without. It starts with a moment, a simple moment that seems ordinary to anyone else, but to you it holds the weight of eternity. Perhaps it is the way their hair falls over their forehead, or the way their laughter catches in your chest and refuses to leave. That moment is a whisper to your soul. It's not a shout, not a demand, not a clamor for attention. It is the quiet insistence of something that has always been yours, something that chose you long before you were aware of it. And in that whisper, your heart recognizes a truth it cannot deny. You do not wish to share this person with anyone. You do not need to, because love like this, love that roots itself in the deepest parts of the self, is not about control, but about recognition. It is about seeing a soul and knowing it mirrors yours. It is about understanding that some connections are singular, irreplaceable, and eternal. It is strange how life presents these connections. They do not arrive with fanfare or ceremony. They do not come announced by fate or heralded by circumstance. They arrive quietly, like sunlight slipping through the cracks of a room, unnoticed at first, but persistent, warm, and illuminating everything it touches. And once you notice, once your soul acknowledges it, there is no turning back. You cannot unsee the truth of what you feel. You cannot undo the realization that this person, this being, this soul has become an intrinsic part of your own. Their joys become your joys, their sorrows, your own shadows. Their laughter is music you cannot stop hearing. Their silence, a language you instinctively understand. And so the promise begins not as words, but as a feeling, an unspoken pact written in the chambers of your heart. You do not need to declare it loudly to the world. You do not need grand gestures or declarations of ownership. You simply feel it in the quiet moments of the night when the world is asleep and only your thoughts remain. You feel it in the pause before you speak, in the careful way your hand brushes against theirs, in the way your chest tightens at the thought of losing them. This is where love lives, not in the applause, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows, in the private sanctuaries of our hearts, where truth is most honest and most raw. There is a sacredness in this love, a reverence that cannot be taught or borrowed. You cannot fabricate it. You cannot invent the depth of emotion that wells up when their name passes your lips, when their presence fills the room, when the world seems simultaneously heavier and lighter because they exist within it. You recognize that this is not just affection, not just desire. This is devotion. This is an acknowledgement of something eternal, And with it comes a quiet intensity, a need that is not about possession, but about fidelity to a feeling that knows no compromise. Every glance, every touch, every shared silence is a thread weaving the tapestry of a love that refuses dilution. And in the depth of these threads, a resolve takes form. It is not a possessive demand. It is a recognition that what exists between you is rare. The world will try to intrude, circumstances will attempt to pull you apart, but this love is anchored in a bedrock that is impervious to distraction, immune to the fleeting temptations that whisper from the edges of life. This is a love that chooses the other every single day, not out of obligation, not out of fear, but because the soul knows it has found its counterpart, its reflection, its home. In loving someone this way, you begin to notice the details that others miss. The way they hesitate before speaking certain truths, the way their eyes hold stories they have never told, the tremble in their voice when they are uncertain, the warmth in their laughter when they feel safe. These small things are not trivial, they are sacred markers of the being you cherish. And as you notice, as you recognize, the need to protect, to honor, and to safeguard them grows not out of jealousy, but out of reverence. To love deeply is to recognize the fragility, to honor vulnerability, and to be willing to bear the weight of both joy and sorrow with equal tenderness. Sometimes this love manifests in silence. There are days when words feel inadequate, when any declaration seems too small to convey the enormity of feelings swelling within. On such days, presence alone becomes the language of devotion. Being there, fully attentive, fully present, without distraction, without expectation, is a form of intimacy that eclipses the need for speech. In that quiet presence, the promise is made without uttering a single word. It is made through the act of simply being, of witnessing, of holding space for the other's existence with unshakable acknowledgement. Love of this magnitude also teaches patience. It teaches that urgency has no place when the heart has already found certainty. There is no rush. There is no competition. There is only recognition. And with recognition comes the unspoken agreement to choose each other day after day, not out of fear of loss, but out of unwavering understanding that this connection is singular and cannot be replicated. This is the quiet power of love, the ability to be steady, enduring, and resolute without the need for assertion. In these moments of quiet devotion, you also understand the fragility of life. You recognize that existence is fleeting, that circumstances shift, that time moves inexorably forward. And yet, even in the face of impermanence, the soul anchors itself to the other, as if to say, no matter what changes, no matter what storms may come, this connection remains. You do not make this promise lightly. You do not swear it rashly. It is etched in your being, embedded in the fibers of your heart, so that even in separation, even in challenge, the truth of your feeling endures. There is also a kind of vulnerability in this devotion that is both terrifying and beautiful. To key are so profoundly is to risk everything. To hold someone in your heart with such intensity is to expose yourself to the possibility of pain, and yet the risk is embraced because love this deep cannot be half-hearted. It cannot be tentative. To truly love someone in this way is to surrender to the entirety of feeling, to accept joy and suffering in equal measure, to place another soul above your own comfort and pride, and to find fulfillment in the act of caring itself. And when you finally voice it, when the words come to rest upon your lips, they carry with them the weight of everything unspoken. I'm not sharing you with anyone, my love. You're mine forever. These words are not a demand. They are not a chain. They are a declaration of truth. A truth so deep it cannot be contained by mere sentences. A truth that has lived in your heart, quietly, persistently, and endlessly, until the moment it can finally be acknowledged aloud. And when the other hears it, there is an understanding, a recognition that the bond you share is sacred, mutual, and irreplaceable. It is a promise not of ownership, but of undivided attention, undiluted devotion, and unwavering presence. Life will continue with its unpredictable turns, its moments of joy, and its inevitable shadows. But even in the midst of chaos, even when the world presses against you with its distractions and demands, this love remains. It is not fragile. It is not fleeting. It is steadfast, a constant flame that neither wind nor rain can extinguish. And in this steadfastness, there is freedom. There is liberation from doubt. There is liberation from doubt. There is the profound peace that comes from knowing that in the midst of all uncertainty, one heart has recognized another, and that recognition will endure through time, distance, and circumstance. To love in this way is to transcend the ordinary. It is to understand that relationships are not measured by convenience or comfort, but by depth and commitment. It is to recognize that some souls are not merely companions, but mirrors, reflections of what is best, truest, and most vulnerable within us. And when such a soul enters your life, the instinct is not to let go. The instinct is to hold closer, to cherish more, to nurture and protect with everything you have. The beauty of this love is that it is selfless, yet it enriches the self immeasurably. To devote yourself fully to another is to discover capacities of empathy, patience, and joy that you might never have realized existed. It teaches humility because the heart is never entirely its own. When Anna Medenst person holds it in such trust, it teaches courage because to care this much is to risk heartbreak. It teaches gratitude because the presence of a soul so precious is an everyday miracle. And perhaps most importantly, it teaches presence. To love like this is to exist fully in the moment, to savor every shared glance, every soft word, every fleeting touch. The past becomes a tapestry of memory, the future a canvas of hope, but the present is sacred. It is in these small, sacred moments that love thrives, that devotion deepens, that the promise silently repeats itself day after day, breath after breath, because this is the essence of true connection, not a transaction, not a performance, not a convenience, but a meeting of souls that cannot be undone, a bond that persists beyond circumstance, a love that whispers even when no one else can hear. You are mine, and I am yours. You are forever, and so am I. Wylev, and so am I. And when you look at them, when you see the flicker of understanding in their eyes, when the shared silence speaks louder than any declaration, you know that all the years, all the waiting, all the searching led you to this single point, this moment, this recognition that what exists between you is not fleeting, it is not trivial, it is eternal. It is a love that demands nothing but presence and gives everything in return. A love that defines what it means to belong entirely to one another. A love that endures not because it is easy, but because it is real, unwavering, and infinitely precious. A love that transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, that colors the mundane with beauty, that lifts the heart and humbles the soul, that teaches patience, resilience, empathy, courage, gratitude, vulnerability, tenderness, and 100 quiet truths spoken without sound. A love that shapes the way you breathe, the way you walk, the way you dream. A love that becomes the rhythm of your life, the anchor of your being, the compass of your choices, the sanctuary in a storm, the light in a darkness, the warmth when everything else is cold, the fire when everything else is cold, the fire when everything else is dim, the quiet hand that reaches for yours without expectation, the gentle heartbeat that aligns with yours without demand, the sacred promise repeated in every glance, every wordless conversation, every touch, every shared silence, every whispered thought, every heartbeat and breath that tells you, even without saying it, that this is forever, that this is yours, that this is sacred, and that nothing in the world could ever take it away. It is a strange and beautiful thing, the way love speaks without words. Real love does not need to announce itself with grand gestures or loud proclamations. It does not demand attention or recognition. Instead, it exists in the spaces between words, in the pauses of conversation, in the quiet presence of someone who sees you fully and chooses to remain anyway. True love is an unspoken promise, a gentle protection, a soul's recognition of its mirror in another. It is the feeling that surfaces when you realize that someone's existence has become a part of your own, that their happiness and their sorrow are threads woven into the fabric of your life, inseparable from your own. You know this love when you feel it in small, almost imperceptible ways. It is in the warmth of a hand brushing yours without thought, the subtle smile that lingers when your eyes meet, the way your chest tightens not from fear or jealousy, but from the depth of connection you sense in the simplest of moments. It is not flashy. It does not clamor for attention. It simply is, quietly, persistently, undeniably, and once you feel it, you understand that this is not something ordinary. It is not a passing fancy or a temporary bond. It is something rare, something that resonates so deeply within you that it changes the way you breathe, the way you see, the way you feel. There is a certain humility in this love. To recognize another soul in such a way is to acknowledge that no one else could ever replace them, that their presence is irreplaceable, that the world itself feels a little emptier when they are not near. And with this realization comes responsibility, not a burden, but a sacred duty to honor, protect, and cherish what is yours, not because the world demands it, not because the world demands it, not because fear motivates you, but because your heart knows that this is a bond that cannot be divided. This is love in its truest form, patient, steady, unshakable, enduring through all the unpredictability that life may bring. Love like this is never rushed. It does not hurry to claim or possess. It moves with the natural rhythm of two hearts that have recognized each other. It waits patiently for understanding to deepen, for trust to solidify, for the layers of life to reveal themselves in their own time. And while the world around you may spin in chaos and distraction, inside this love, there is a calm certainty, a knowledge that what is meant to be together will endure, that no external force can diminish the bond that has been forged in the quiet spaces of shared experience. It is often in silence that love is most powerful. Words can be clumsy, imprecise, inadequate to express the depth of feeling that exists between two hearts. And so, love speaks in glances and lingering touches and subtle gestures that convey more than 1,000 sentences ever could. A brush of the hand across the back, a small squeeze of reassurance, a gentle look that says without speaking, I see you, I understand you, I choose you. In these moments, the unspoken promise is made and remade day after day without the need for repetition or explanation. Real love also teaches you to see beyond the surface. It teaches you to notice the details that others overlook, to recognize the nuances that make a person uniquely themselves. It is in the quiet observation of habits, the gentle understanding of fears, the appreciation of quirks and imperfections that love deepens. It is not about changing or correcting, but about accepting and cherishing the whole person, embracing their strengths and their vulnerabilities alike. And in that acceptance, a profound connection emerges, one that cannot be replicated, one that is rooted in mutual recognition and respect, one that carries the weight and the lightness of life itself. Love is also a teacher of courage. To truly commit to someone, to make a soul's recognition of another its guiding truth, is to step into vulnerability. It is to risk heartbreak, to open yourself fully, to give without reservation. And yet, in that vulnerability lies strength. For it takes more courage to love deeply and remain open than it does to close oneself off to the possibilities of connection. To choose another person every day, through silence and laughter, through hardship and joy, is an act of bravery that reflects the deepest essence of the human heart. There is a sacred rhythm to this love, a cadence that unfolds naturally. It is not a constant high of passion or intensity, but a steady, enduring presence. It is the rhythm of everyday life made extraordinary by shared awareness, the rhythm of mundane moments illuminated by devotion. It is found in the quiet evening where nothing is said but everything is felt. In the ordinary mornings when presence itself becomes a gift, in the shared understanding that your lives have intertwined in a way that is permanent and wavering and profound. In the presence of this love, time behaves differently. Moments stretch and condense, significance grows in small acts, and memory becomes a living thing, an ongoing testament to the bond you share. Each shared glance, each gentle word, each tender gesture is recorded not in a ledger of events, but in the heart, layered with meaning, weighted with emotion, resonant with permanence. You begin to understand that love is not just the extraordinary moments, the grand declarations, or the dramatic gestures. Love is the cumulative sum of countless tiny acknowledgments, the small acts that say, I see you, I choose you, I am here. To love in this way is also to be present in every sense. It is to listen not only with your ears, but with your heart. It is to see not only with your eyes, but with your soul. It is to feel not only with your hands, but with every fiber of your being. Presence becomes the greatest gift you can offer, the truest measure of devotion. And when both hearts meet in this shared presence, the unspoken promise of belonging, of togetherness, of enduring connection is realized. It is the recognition of a love that does not fade, that does not waver, that cannot be divided. This love is protective, not possessive, not possessive. It shields, it nurtures, it safeguards, but it does not constrain. It honors freedom, respects individuality, and celebrates the wholeness of the person you cherish. To love this way is to understand that the other's happiness is inseparable from your own, that their needs and desires are integral to your shared journey, and that devotion is measured not in control but in unwavering support. There is a quiet power in such love, a strength that does not demand attention but commands respect through its steadfastness and consistency. Love also deepens empathy. To truly see another soul, to recognize the entirety of their being, is to cultivate understanding. You feel their joys as intensely as your own. You bear witness to their pain as if it were your own shadow. You rejoice in their triumphs. You grieve in their losses. And through it all, you learn to love not only them, but also the parts of yourself reflected in their presence. In this mirror, the human heart discovers its capacity for patience, for generosity, for tenderness, and for resilience. And in the midst of all this, there is a quiet certainty, a knowledge that comes not from spoken assurances or contractual promises, but from the intuitive understanding that some bonds are unbreakable, some souls are predestined to recognize each other, and some loves are infinite in their depth and endurance. You feel it in the way your heart leaps in their presence, in the way the world seems more vibrant when they are near, in the subtle shift of energy that their presence brings. It is a certainty that does not demand articulation, but exists as a steady undercurrent guiding your thoughts, your choices, and your every gesture. This love transforms ordinary life into something extraordinary. It infuses routine with meaning, elevates the mundane, and sanctifies everyday moments with significance. A shared cup of tea becomes a ritual, a walk in the park becomes a celebration, a quiet evening together becomes a sanctuary. Every action, no matter how small, carries the weight of devotion, the affirmation of presence, and the echo of the unspoken promise that sustains you both, that in this life, in this moment, in this connection, you belong to each other completely. And so the love that speaks without words continues to grow, to deepen, to evolve. It does not fade with time. It strengthens. It does not diminish with difficulty. It fortifies. Each challenge, each obstacle, each hardship only serves to reinforce the bond, to prove the resilience of a love that is real, that is profound, that is unshakable. And in this ongoing journey, you discover that the truest form of commitment is not dictated by circumstance, not determined by obligation, but defined by the enduring choice to be present, to care, to protect, and to cherish every day, every moment, for as long as life allows. To love someone in this way is to make a lifelong promise without ever having to say it aloud. It is to hold space for another soul with reverence, to honor their existence as an extraordinary gift, and to recognize that the bond you share is not temporary, not fleeting, but eternal in its essence. It is a love that survives the passing of years, that withstands the pressures of the world, that endures beyond the limitations of time and circumstance. It is a love that asks for nothing but offers everything, that needs no justification but exists because it is true, that defines the heart not by what it takes but by what it gives, that shapes your existence into something richer, fuller, and more profound than you could have imagined alone. And when you reach the point where words fail, when all attempts at description feel inadequate, when the world cannot contain the enormity of feeling that exists between you, you simply exist together. And in that existence, in that quiet, profound, unspoken recognition, the promise is complete. It is not measured in declarations or grand gestures. It is measured in the quiet confidence of presence, the steady heartbeat of devotion, the unwavering choice to remain, to honor, to love, to protect, and to recognize that some souls are not meant to be apart, some bonds are not meant to be broken, and some loves are not meant to be anything less than infinite.